This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Hello, my friend. This is a Time to Care the Caregivers podcast, and I'm your host, Isabel Melgarejo. I'm so delighted to have you here. Have you ever had a deep conversation with a ride-share driver? I just had the most fantastic conversation with one. I want to share what I learned from this ride. So let's get started. A few days ago, I took a Lyft and I had the most amazing conversation with this person. One of the things that we were talking is like how, as we have grown older, we have been more clear about what we need. We have our periods, and she was telling me that she would fight all the time with her husband because he wouldn't give her what she needed. She has learned over time to just tell him, like, I am very emotional, I feel like crap, and I need you to behave in this way. I really appreciate this conversation because even though she was referring to her period, I believe that we can all learn lessons from this. We all have our moments. We all have difficult times. I think it's really important to let others know how we want them to treat us in a specific situations. That is done. End of the podcast. I'm just joking. We often don't pay attention to our feelings. We don't pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. And because we don't pay attention to how we're feeling, we are unable to tell other people what we are expecting from them. For the most part, people will help and will give us what we need at certain moments in time. And then, yes, they're assholes and they will do whatever they want to do. If they're assholes in your life, please make yourself a favor and disappear them from your life. Remove them, stop talking to them, and keep the people that are really supportive and really caring. The rest can just disappear. With the people that are caring and are willing to help and will provide the need and care that you need to be very clear on what you need. And you need to start paying attention to how you're feeling. And this is easier said than done because we were never taught how to pay attention to our emotions. We were taught to hide all our emotions. Women are taught to be happy all the time, caring, compassionate, etc. Men have been taught to be angry and proactive and go-getters. And this kind of situation is not helping anybody because nobody in the planet, well, I'm not saying everybody, but historically we've been taught to just hide our emotions. And it becomes so hard to identify what's going on within our bodies. It's so hard to even pay attention that we don't know what we're going through. So I believe that it's time for us to start paying attention to our bodies, to start paying attention when something triggers us. And the best way to pay attention to our feelings is by paying attention to our bodies. Feelings are physical emotions and sensations in our bodies. When you're angry, you might experience that you feel hot and red, and maybe you feel tickles or whatever. I don't know. When you're stressed, you feel like a knot on your stomach, or your shoulders tenses, or there are so many things. And I recently started paying attention to my emotions and sensations in my body because I never learned how to do that. I'm pretty new at this. And still, it has been very revealing paying attention to how I feel and just letting those emotions go through them. Because if we don't pay attention to our emotions, they are just going and we override them. Our bodies will still have the need to let us know that something wrong is happening. Instead of taking action and letting those emotions flow and get ourselves centered, we're going to get, and if we push them down, our bodies are going to say, like, hey, the lion is still there. Hello, you need to run. It just comes louder and louder and louder. We need to start learning how to manage those emotions. During this past 2-3 weeks that I've learned how, or I'm learning, because honestly, I'm not an expert on this. I'm pretty new. I'm learning how to do it. And I'm just sharing my experiences with this. And it has been amazing how I can manage just to relax. So when something happens in your life and you get triggered and you get very emotional, whatever it is, then you take a time to actually pay attention to your body. So, for example, if you receive bad news at the doctor's appointment and you're very sad and very concerned and you don't know what to do, or maybe you had a very hard time or a very difficult conversation with someone that really triggered all of yourself and you're feeling very altered, that is the perfect moment to take a moment, breathe, and check in with your body. Start either with your toes or your head. For me, it's easier to start with my head. And then just start paying attention to your head, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, your jaw, your shoulders, your arms, fingers, etc. I don't need to tell you all the parts of your body. I'm hoping you know all of them. But start with your head and start scanning down to your toes and start paying attention to what you're feeling. When you notice any kind of discomfort, just breathe through that discomfort. The best way to breathe through that discomfort is to just let it go. Breathe it. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's taking me like forever to get rid of emotions. But just take the time to breathe through them and center yourself. How I have been centering myself is through just, okay, I am here. I am home. I am protected. I can let this go. I am safe. I'm not going to die. And when you're telling these things to your brain will understand, yeah, like I'm here. There is not a lion chasing me, or there's no car coming to me that I need to run away, and I can relax. And then you start digesting your emotions. And this, my friends, has been a great way of managing myself. Have I been successful? Of course not. Not all the time. Not all the time I've been successful. And sometimes I still screw up, and sometimes I'm still grumpy. And I'm not grumpy because I'm grumpy. I'm grumpy because I'm stressed. And there's a lot going on in my life. So the past week I did my naturalization exam for the US. Even though everybody was like, you're gonna be fine and don't worry, and you're going to do fine, and yada yada yada, I was still stressed. And I know I was stressed because I was off many times at home. And I noticed that. But I have been able to manage my emotions by just checking with me. And I'm sharing this without being an expert or without anything else, because I know that this is new for me, and I'm sharing this journey with you so we can learn together and grow together. And once you identify those emotions, I think it's very, very important to tell other people that you're off. I have a wonderful husband who can actually read my mind, I think, because he just lets me be. But to be honest, not everybody is the same way. And not everybody gives us what we need. So it is very important that once you are checking with those emotions and those triggers, you let people know what you need at that precise moment. If you're feeling lonely, once you have digested those feelings, maybe you can share with someone, like, I really need a company, and I need someone to tell me that they love me and that they care for me. And if that person really loves you and cares for you, they will give you that. And maybe you're saying, well, it's not the same. It didn't come from their heart. Maybe it's not the same. Maybe it's not something, maybe you're telling someone to tell you what you need to hear. That doesn't mean that it's not true. And that doesn't mean that that person did it with the best of intentions. Because let me tell you something. I don't know someone who can read other people's minds. The only way to have people give you what you need in a precise moment is by telling them how to treat you in that moment. And that is something that this Lyft driver shared with me. And I think we can all learn from her. We can all take that initiative of telling our loved ones what we need in a specific moment and how we want them to treat us, so we receive exactly what we need. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a great pleasure having you here and sharing insights and perspectives. And I would like for you to leave us a review. So if you're listening in Apple Podcasts, which is most of the people out here, just scroll all the way to the bottom and just rate us. That is the only thing that I'm asking from you today. Thank you so much, and talk to you next week.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.